Hello, everybody. I love to see a pre-stream chat in progress. Always warms my heart. We're going snowshoeing today. Going off trail as far as the signal will allow. Bob is asleep in a box, unavailable for comment at this time. So we'll come back to him later. But it's once again Saturday. Cadenthia. So that's good news. Maybe we're getting annoying issue. I'll give you all the panorama. I mean, that's really where it's at out there. Give you the flip panorama. Beautiful, as always. Weather has been fantastic. I've been hearing that people are getting snow all over the U.S. right now, places that don't normally get it. This is my daily track. I don't need the snowshoes for this, but we're going to go off trail. This is my walk-in trail, and the grooves on the right are for my cargo sled, where I haul my groceries and such back from my car, which is up there, because I can't keep this damn driveway plowed, so I decided to give it up. So today we're going to go, let's see, if you see that little indentation there, that's my old trail that I wore into the grass by walking it forever, but it's almost completely buried. But we're going to take that trail today, see how these snowshoes do in the fluff. It's very fluffy. All the crust is gone, evaporated or melted or something, and it's just this like dusty powder. My brother is back. Hey, man. Yeah, I mean, not too hard to beat the view of Burgerville, though yours is tastier. So, doing these weekly things, I don't always have, grand statements or philosophies to impart to you, just kind of a hangout session. My life since the last stream has been, it has taken one big shift where I finished another big writing project that I've been working on, known as Secret Screenplay, because I still haven't gotten a release from the people who commissioned it to let me talk about it. So I'm begging them. Me and my agent are both going to start begging them, like, come on, please, announce something. Let's get this out there. But for now, it remains Secret Screenplay. And I turned it in last week, the week before last. And is that right? No, I turned it in this week, or at the beginning of this week, Monday. And this weekend was my first actual weekend for quite a while, because every other weekend I've been spending working on that screenplay when I have any spare time left over from my day job, which is writing for the Bazaar. And so this is my first actual chill time weekend. I'm trying to enjoy it. Always a little difficult for me to change gears like that. Man, walking in deep snow, really. I was actually today, I was browsing deep back into my Facebook archives, back into 2008, to find the time frame where I was writing Warm Bodies. because I wanted to figure out, like, how did I do that? How did I manage to write a novel in 9 months while working full time? I think actually though it wasn't quite full time. It was a weird job where I had kind of random shifts. So it probably was closer to part time, which is maybe how I pulled it off. But I was looking for Facebook status updates that mentioned it, and doing things like I would see a status that says I wrote today, and I'd be like, okay, ask Siri, what day of the week was, January 3rd, 2008? And it would tell me that was a Monday. And I'm like, how was I writing on a Monday? I thought I had a job. Because right now, it's, it's tough to figure out. Been thinking about this a lot lately, because like I see a lot of people talk about, not caring about making money at art, especially in the music world. Everyone's just like, you got to just do it for the love of it. You can't expect to make any money at it. And I'm like, okay, fair, but the reality is, like, you need money to pay for the free time to make the art. So yeah, I don't make the art for the money. Somewhere I've got to make money doing it, or else there's no time, So I was trying to figure out, like, how did I do this for those years? My best I can guess is I just squeezed it into the cracks wherever possible. And probably why it took me, a decade or whatever it was to get a publishable novel finished, even though it wasn't that I worked on that novel the whole time, but just the amount of thought and practice that went into the time before that while working full time. It doesn't leave a whole lot of room in life. I don't know, am I even still streaming? All I'm seeing in the chat is problems here. This is an issue when I go off trail like this, far from the Wi-Fi. Let me know if it actually, like, stops, because I don't need to be out here. It's just kind of fun to take you on a little journey with me. So, yeah, the search for a well-balanced artist life continues. For now, it's definitely not balanced. For now, it's egregiously tipped toward day job, leaving very little space for anything else. I'm still managing to get stuff done, but in fact, I think that's probably how I pulled it off back then, was that I just worked on every spare moment. Weekends, mornings, evenings, etc. I would pour that into writing, which is what I've been doing these last couple weeks, and that does work. I did get something done. Only problem is, like, that's all you do if that's the arrangement. There's no time for leisure, social life. I mean, look at all these people out here just, like, begging to hang out with me, and I'm like, sorry, I can't. Gotta work. Gotta write. Gotta be an artist. Yes, Megan, it is a beautiful afternoon. I'll take the camera off myself again for a minute so you can see it. How about that? I'm heading back onto my old snowshoe trail. But yeah, I see a couple other artists in the chat here relating with me, and it's like, I get the sentiment, but personally, I get a little tired of people who are already established, people who don't have to worry about that anymore, talking about, just do it for the love of the art. People in music are like, hey, just make music. Shouldn't matter if Spotify takes all your profits. You should just do it because you love it. And everyone should do that. Like, nobody should worry about making income at art because it's not about money. And I'm like, you have to understand, do you want good art or not? Because if you create a society where no artists can't make money, then you have nothing but dabblers. Nobody can dedicate themselves to it fully because they don't have any time. So in that future, you have no musicians who can dedicate themselves to the craft, who can really develop their work. No artists of any kind because they can't develop it. They just have to be hobbyists forever. All hobbies only, no true dedication to that life. And there's nothing wrong with art as a hobby. I mean, that's what I did for most of my life. I may be going back to that. But so you should still do it even if you can't make money. But the issue is like for the artists and for like culture, for the consumers of art, if you take away the ability for artists to make a living, then you're inevitably going to see a massive drop off of quality. Because there's a big difference between like squeezing it into the cracks on your lunch break and like having your whole life be about that. It just, when you can really dedicate and develop something and like take the time to let it stew and build off of it and like make it your whole world, that's a whole different category of art making, of any medium. If we take that away, the whole landscape's gonna change in a way that I don't think is gonna be good. So it's just something it's been on my mind a lot lately because I see so many people like kind of giving this poo-poo gesture to artists. They're like, just don't worry about that. It's not about the money. Like David Lynch, all due respect, great artist, brilliant man, etc. Big fan. But there's a clip of his going around right now talking about that, about how like you shouldn't even be thinking about your career and your future or anything. Like, I don't know. It's easy to say once you have an established career and you don't have to go grind at McDonald's for 40 hours a week to squeeze in your films on the side. So anyway, that's the topical news of the day. I just think people miss that one little point of it. The part about how needing to have the time to dedicate to it never really seems to come up in the conversation. It's always just about like, well, what's your real motivation? Is it art or money? It's like, that's not the question. The motivation is art. I would gladly live in a world where I don't have any money and make art all the time if that were physically possible. But this world forces us to have money to survive, and so we have to find some way to get it in order to have time to make the art. So anyway, I'm getting snow all down my ankles. Whose idea was it to have a short boot? This was a product placement for me. The company that kept sending me boots to do videos about for some reason sent me these short boots, and they're really comfortable, but they're so short, the snow finds its way in. Okay, I'm pausing to scan your comments here because I was ranting for a while. Okay, Jen gets it for sure. Yeah, I think a lot of people who talk that way, I don't know anything about, a lot of people who talk that way have sort of either never experienced it or have forgotten the realities of being like an artist on the side while grinding away at a full-time job. It's easy to forget, and I was there too, and I was eager to forget myself. After a couple years of being a full-time writer, I was just like, just write, it's like life, just make your life about writing. I forgot what the realities of that is before you're able to do that. And yeah, Claudia, like commissions are kind of like what I'm doing with the Bazaar. Is basically commissioned art. And, you know, several other projects that I've done recently the ones that I can't talk about, that paid my bills for the last year, it was all commission stuff. It was, you know, it was technically art, but it wasn't my art. And it's, you know, it's a privilege to be able to make a living off commissioned art, for that matter, off any kind of art. That's a goal for many people, and it is a better place to be than doing something that you just absolutely hate, for sure, or something that has nothing to do with your talents, etc. But it's still not quite the same as like you making a living with your own art. That's becoming more and more of a holy grail situation these days. And that's really my only angst, comes from people like saying that that's fine. They're like trying to make the situation okay. Like, you know, art was never supposed to be a career. It's supposed to just be something you do for fun. It's like a human expression. And, you know, there's that Tumblr post that goes around that's like trying to normalize that idea. Like, since when did we monetize our self-expression? Like, people should just dance and paint because it's fun. And I'm like, yeah, but if you can only afford to do it like 1 hour a week, you're never really going to develop the technology. You're not going to advance to the next tier of that art. It's just going to be something you do for fun, which is all well and good, but, you know, some people want to take it further. Yeah, get a real job. Yep. I hear that all the time. Nobody likes to hear artists complaining. It's like, it's such a big turnoff for normies. And I feel it myself sometimes, and it's a strange, conflicting feeling to be in that camp, but also at the same time, like there's a like a primitive caveman part of myself that hears people complaining about how hard it is. Then I'm like, you go hunt, you make hut, you build craft. No need dance, no need song. And I have to, that part of me has to have a little wrestling match with the whimsical bard part of me. Inside us, there are two character classes. The barbarian and the bard. If you can't tell, I've started playing Baldur's Gate 3 recently. That's going to leak into our chats a little bit. All right, look how far I've advanced. I'm past the first checkpoint. Little standing stones there. Can't believe I still have signal. We are now I'm glad to hear Jen is in the chat, standing up for us, the chat yet, because those guys are brutal on completely innocent topics. They'll find something to attack when nothing controversial is being said. Am I still lost? I'm seeing hearts pop up. I know it's disconnected there a minute ago. Well, maybe it's time to head back. No, you know what? I'm going to come in one last milestone here. We're going to head to that cairn up there, and then I'll turn back because I want to show you the view of the other side. Somebody asked about the overnoise. So the overnoise is still out there, market. My agent is kind of doing his agent thing. He's fielding inquiries from publishers. The overall summary is like there's interest. It seems promising. I'm trying not to get too excited until somebody actually, you know, makes a move. But like stuff is bubbling, and it's coming down to the point. I can't really like get into detail about it because it's bargaining strategy stuff. But we're gonna make a move shortly that will decide my fate one way or the other. It's a power move, if you will. And we'll see what happens. So yeah, publishing, incredibly slow process. Even the buying and dealing part of it, incredibly slow. Everything is so slow. Now, more so than ever, from what I've heard, because people just like don't care anymore. Apparently people just kind of don't answer emails, and they take many months for vacation, and it's just like this weird environment where it's just like disconnected somehow. So it's everything takes forever. Every back and forth on an email is like weeks of waiting. It's really, really maddening. But anyway, soon we will find out. Yeah, Megan mentioned the gap, my employment gap. One of the things that has come up in some of my agents' conversations with the publishers, a lot of people are basically in polite terms asking like, what's wrong with him? Like, how does he have Warm Bodies, sell hundreds of thousands of copies, movie, bestseller list, all that stuff, and then like a year later, nobody wants the book? Like, well, it doesn't make any sense. How does that happen? And so like there's kind of this suspicion that I must be crazy, like I must be some sort of total unworkable diva, or something is terribly wrong with me as an author that would cause my publisher to abandon the franchise so abruptly. And it's a very reasonable question. I've wondered the same thing myself. But I know the truth of it is that I'm actually a super nice guy. I'm actually very reasonable. I'm very pragmatic. Like I understand the nuances of business. I know that there are things you have to do in order to, you know, sell copies and all that stuff. And I'm pretty fair about it, you know. Like people always assume, oh, you must have hated the movie because they changed this or that. And I'm like, no, I get it. Like you have to do some things in order to work within the medium that you're working in. And same with publishing. Like, okay, you know, there's some compromises here and there you have to make in order to reach the readers that you need, and blah blah blah. And I understand these realities, and I thought I was like pretty cooperative author. But basically there was the external factors where a big convergence of cultural events, huge shifts in the media landscape, political situation with election years, a bunch of stuff happened like at the same time that sort of conspired to destroy The Burning World, the sequel to Warm Bodies. There's also timing issues, you know, like it wasn't as snappy as sequels they wanted to be, some things like that sort of explain it. But there was also another thing that I can't really get into, but there was a thing that happened in this publishing process that was like a huge blunder from a technical standpoint that very likely, my agent believes and makes sense to me, caused like the start of this snowball effect that caused the series to just sort of get lost in the system. And that's kind of the thing that he talks about when people ask him directly. And so it's kind of funny. Like my agent's job basically right now is to convince publishers that I'm a normal guy, that I'm like easy to work with and not an asshole and not insane. So, never thought that would become like a huge aspect of my professional life, but apparently that's where we are. Yeah, so Paul mentioned the term artist. Yeah, we talked some about like, I wonder what, you know, the people we used to work with, I wonder what they say about me, you know, if new publishers call them up to ask what happened, and he was like, they probably say stuff like he's a real artist, which apparently is like the unforgivable curse in these industries. So, which also gave me a chuckle. Well, thanks, Wyatt. Very nice and sane guy. Can I quote you on that? I'll put that front center on my website. Very nice, completely sane. Publish immediately. So Paul also asked about the audiobook. You know, it's really been a struggle for me. I set it up. I created my session in Logic, got my mic all on my desk. Everything's ready to go. It's just the hurdle of getting started into like a scary new realm of performance. Basically, it's kind of like my acting debut, and even though no one's there to watch me yet, it's still very nerve-wracking. Like I started it up. I started to read the first chapter, and you know, just to kind of like test it out and see how it goes. And I'm like, okay, I can do this. I mean, honestly, I think my performance will be on par with an average audiobook performance. I mean, I listen to a lot of audiobooks. Some of them have real serious actors, but a lot of them are just kind of like people talking. They don't really put a particular amount of intensity into it. They're not like screaming and crying. They're just like, I can't believe you did this. He screamed at the top of his lungs. So like the bar isn't super high. So I feel confident that I can do it. It's still intimidating though. It's like, even just on a technical level, the process of like when I do my YouTube videos for this channel, and I do the voiceover narration, it's incredible how many different ways you can fuck up a voiceover. Like when I record those, I'll get my script set up and I'm like ready to start talking. My voice sounds fine. Everything is smooth. And then I hit that record button and like out of nowhere, suddenly a bunch of phlegm appears in my lungs. Suddenly like I start coughing. Suddenly the cat is knocking on the keyboard. Suddenly like I forget where I am on the page, and just like things just avalanche of little problems start coming in. And then you start to realize things like just getting the inflection wrong on a single word of a sentence. Like if you're just reading the page and you're not really like fully internalizing what is being said, it's really easy to mess up like these really subtle nuances that just like make it shitty. If you start listening for this, you'll hear it all the time, even in like professionally released audiobooks. You'll catch it if you start to notice this, where like you can tell that the reader didn't really know what the sentence meant when they started reading it. So like they get the tone is a little off, the emphasis is on the wrong words, and it's just like, oh, like that's not at all what the author intended there. Like if I had read that with my just on the page, I would have performed it completely differently in my head. But the person in the booth is just, you know, gliding through the lines, and they don't really tune into what's going on with the characters. And I notice that now. It's sort of comforting that it happens in professional productions too, but I don't want any of that in mine. I know it's like ambitious to try to, you know, beat the standards of like Blackstone Audio or whatever. But I just, when I hear it, when I do it, I'm like, nope, got to start again. Got to do that line over again, because I said it without feeling it. And it's really weird when you hear that. It's like, I've started to get really sensitive to the sound of obviously scripted performances. I can't not hear it now when I listen to like Instagram reels and just things where somebody's sitting there talking to the camera. I can instantly tell if they're talking to me live or if they're reading off a script. And because they just so often don't, they say things in a way that people don't speak. Like, because you can tell it's like the same effect that happens with AI voices, honestly. If you don't understand as a conscious being what the sentence means that you're saying, it won't sound right. So it can happen with human actors. It's the same way it happens with AI. But there's just there's a big importance to like knowing what it means when you say it. Otherwise, it just sounds hollow and inhuman. So it's hard enough with these little scripts for my YouTube videos, which are really short. I mean, I'll take Bitcoin ads over people being really cruel, but thanks for snapping them anyway. So what I'm talking about with the acting thing, it's a voice acting problem in particular. I almost never see this with live normal acting performances. And I think it's because with voice actors, they're often not really given a whole lot of direction or context. They just kind of throw them in the booth with a bunch of pages and they'll like read the lines. But for example, a small example of what I'm talking about here is in the game Oblivion, Elder Scrolls Oblivion. There's a scene, I'm trying to remember what the line actually was. It's like one soldier guy says to another soldier something like, "What should we do now?" And the next line is, "The only thing we can do," right? So like the emphasis has to be on can. But the actor who performs that line doesn't know what the previous guy said. All he sees is the line, "The only thing we can do." So he performs it, "The only thing we can do." So it's, imagine a conversation where it's like, "What do we do now? The only thing we can do." It makes no sense, right? But stuff like that happens all the time in badly directed voice acting because they just don't have the context for what's going on. So Oblivion in particular is notorious for horrific voice acting sessions, mostly at no fault of the actors themselves. It's because they were just handed a bunch of pages without any context of who they're talking to or what's going on. And so inevitably that's how it's going to turn out. But it's like little things like that, they drive me crazy now because I'm like, how does this get past you? How is nobody paying attention to this? It really isn't the actor's fault. I have to really reiterate that as much as I can because they only know what the directors tell them. Oh yeah, War of the Worlds. I heard that play. I think it was the original audio. And yeah, I mean that's a huge difference. Somebody who knows and has internalized what they're doing. I saw an interview with the actor who plays Dutch in Red Dead Redemption 2, and he was talking about how what they did was so different from typical game voice acting because they call it performance capture, where it's basically they're all wired up, with motion capture stuff, and they're just straight up performing the scene in a room with the other actors as if it's a movie. So they actually have to memorize their lines, they have to think about it, they know what they're saying, which is very different from the typical voice acting environment, where at least it used to be this way. I've heard that standards have changed a lot when it comes to the game industry, and they now do it in a much more legitimate way. But back in like the early 2000s and before, there was just horrible standards for voice acting. And so they didn't have any context in any direction. I think I heard the rumor is that for Oblivion, they recorded the lines in alphabetical order. So there was literally no context. Like they would just have a line from the end of the game and the next line would be from the beginning of the game, and just completely random mix of lines without any idea what was going on in that scene. So that would explain a lot. God damn, it's getting cold. This wind, the wind is brutal. The actual temperature right now is probably not that low, but the moment the wind kicks up, it's like a force multiplier. It just, it takes whatever temperature it is and just anti-doubles it. It reduces it by twice. Yeah, Rosie's talking about the male actors doing the female voice. I totally agree on that. And it's cringe either way, honestly. The female actors doing the males super low is annoying as well. I'm a big believer in subtle character switches. When I do mine, that's the way I'm going to play it. It's going to be slight changes, but no way in hell am I like doing a whole cartoon voice for every different character. Some like really talented voice actors can pull that off, but I'm not that guy. So I will make do with the material I have. Bye, future. Yeah, Paul, are you the voice actor who was helping me on Instagram? I can't. I remember the face of that guy, but I can't remember the name. Sorry about that. I was talking to a voice actor. Okay, it's not you. There's an actual professional voice actor who does audiobooks who I've been chatting with on Instagram, who's given me some pointers. And I think he does it mostly independently as well, so he has like a home studio like me. And hold on. This unpronounceable name here is taking a shit in Spain. There's a little context for that character. What a world we live in, indeed. Speaking of Indeed and Oblivion, I just keep waiting for that little elf face to pop out of the snow somewhere. Indeed. If you know that meme, you're a real one. If you don't, go find it. Snow. We need more snow. Wyatt gets it. Okay, I'm back on my path now. Bob is almost with us again. Oh my God, my hands are frozen. We got something, critter to track here coming up. Check it out. Somebody looks like they came out of the wilderness and hopped onto my path. It's a little blown over to tell what the actual print is, but I'm guessing coyote by the size of it. I always wanted to track somebody back to their point of origin, but they'd probably just keep moving away from me and never find them. I got gloves, look. They're just very thin, okay? If I didn't have the gloves, I'd be dying. But I need the touch sensitivity, you know? So I can't get the really fluffy ones, or else I can't push buttons. I need to be able to scroll to see what y'all are saying to me. Yeah, I mean, I don't need a hood today. The weather is actually pretty cozy. It's just when the wind hits your extremities and that stings. I took a shower today, and my outdoor shower situation has developed or devolved to the point where, like, when I started doing it, I had like a bathrobe and I had flip-flops that I'd wear to keep my feet off the ice. And I'd take the shower, and then I'd go out in the bathrobe all bundled up, and immediately I'd take the shower and then immediately bundle up with the robe again. And little by little, all of the accessories kind of just fell away. I realized, like, it's such a short time. It's almost less painful just to make a run for it naked, rather than take the time to get the robe and put it back on, and then you have a wet robe in the shed, and on and on. It's just not worth it. So now I just walk out here. I just walk out butt naked, make the pilgrimage of pain to the shower, get clean. You're welcome. Everybody's welcome. Support there. I'm waiting for the Wi-Fi to kick in. There we go. Yeah, so I'll run out here, bolt for the shower. I wonder if you can see my footprints from today. The hardest part about it is really just how damn slippery the snow is with wet, warm, wet feet. But I got my little safe area thawed into the snow there. And then I just very carefully, while holding onto the walls, scamper across the snow back to the safety of ye old outpost. We'll say hi to Bob in just a moment. Just gotta get these clodhoppers off me. Okay. Bobby boy. He's in the box. Emerging from the box to greet the stream. Good boy, Booba. Say hi to everybody. Nice of him to end his nap just for us, right? Take his little morning shower. Where you going, Bob? You going into Bootland? Let's add a couple more boots to Bootland. I showed everybody on Instagram yesterday. This really made me chuckle. I got my kinky S&M Crocs going on here. How about that? Chains and buckles. This is what I have to do to not slip and fall on my ass out there when I make my runs to the bathroom and to the fridge and to everything else that I have to run outside so many times a day. Hold on, the lens is all foggy. There we go. Kinky Crocs, as we call them. Oof, yeah, it's very toasty in here. I thought about having a drink with you guys today. I keep trying to save my precious weekend mornings. But I have this little bottle of mystery liquor. My brother-in-law made this. It's like a homemade, what would you call it? Like an infusion. I think it's whiskey with black cherries and a couple other fruits that were soaked in it for a long time. It is delicious. And I am gonna have a little sip. So anybody wants to join me? I actually had a sip of this last night for no reason at all, just by myself, because I was like, you know what? It's Friday. I worked really hard this week. I can afford like a 1% reduction in cognition in order to enjoy some delicious flavors. I got these glasses for Christmas. It's Mount Rainier inside the glass. Brings a little extra joy to my occasional indulgences. Cheers. Oh, so good. It basically tastes like a Manhattan, which is my favorite cocktail. Just a classic rye Manhattan with a little brandy soaked cherry stuck in it. So good. One of the things that I miss most about my old life is just having the opportunity to go out and have like an elevated experience once in a while. I have a lot of beautiful experiences out here, but like there's some things that humanity has invented, some like refinements in aesthetic sensation and experience that are the some of the few things that I still really appreciate about humanity, and don't get to enjoy those kind of things out here really much at all. I go to the kind of the saloon. It's literally called Codys Saloon. I go there once in a while on weekends and just like sit at the bar and have a beer, or like the best you can really get around here is just like a good quality straight liquor. So I'll get like I think the best one they have there is Pendleton whiskey. They have Buffalo Trace too, but yeah, like a good whiskey by itself, you can't mess that up, so that's good. But yeah, there's like no refined experiences out here. I want a bar so bad on Enfield. That's been my fantasy for decades, is to own my own bar. Just like a weird, eccentric bar in like a really unlikely location. Which means it would obviously not make any money. Hey, Bob, you want to join the party here? You want to show everyone your butt? Or just put it in my face? Okay, Bob. Okay. He's sniffing that liquor. He's like, I want a drink. All right, Bob, give them what they want. Give them that pretty face. Here we go. I really feel bad about this collar. Every time I see that on camera, I'm like, God, that looks so horrible. It looks like he's in a prison colony, and I have like a explosive collar that is gonna blow up if he leaves the perimeter. It's really not. It's not that at all. It's for his safety, but it has, the optics are not good. Very dystopian optics. He doesn't seem to mind it. When it's time to charge the batteries, I take it off, and he gets to enjoy like an evening free. And he definitely seems to appreciate it being gone, but when I put it back on, he doesn't fuss too much. I always give him like a little under the collar scratches. Hold on, we're talking about where are we talking about abuse here? I think I missed something in the chat. Oh God. I think you mentioned this cat in a previous chat, Natasha. Was this? Never mind. I can't get into that topic. I'll have to ask too many questions and get frustrated. It really bothers me when people own animals and don't treat them right, and there's nothing you can do about it because they aren't quite bad enough to be considered a law-breaking abuse. But you still feel like you should just rescue them. Don't you, Bob? Yeah, I mean, 7.6. The collars are all modern. Well, I guess they do really make super cheapo ones aren't, but like most modern collars are breakaway. I mean, if they get caught, they pop off. All it takes to open this collar is like a firm tug. So if he ever does get stuck, it'll just pop off of him. Right, Bobo? You don't mind? He gets in this position and then just gives me the most like adoring gaze. He's got a pretty good life. DPRK Cat Respecter is back in the chat. We missed you. Glad you're still out there respecting cats. We were worried about you because we haven't seen any any information drops about North Korean tourism. But glad you're still hanging in there. Also, yeah, Natasha, I want you to take that cat. I think you should just steal it. If people aren't cat respecters, they don't deserve cats. I don't believe in ownership of any living thing. Children too, like animals and children, like it's a privilege to be in charge of them. But if you abuse the privilege, you lose it. I can't have people or animals being property like that. It needs to be the human collective village decides if you are crossing the line. So since you're in the chat, DPRK, we're desperate to know like what is the deal? Can you tell us anything about like what your job is? What brings you into this into these chats? And like I don't even know how to ask it, but I'm just very curious about because I assume that you're being paid in some way to do this because you put donations into the chat in order to have sort of like tourism commercials pop up, and we've all wondered like what's do you work for the government? Like we're just so curious. And also I appreciate the tips, but if you ever feel like telling us more, we would love to know. It is damn good, Wyatt. I know you're not a drinker, but so I'm sorry to tempt you. But it is delicious. That's all I'm going to drink. Unfortunately, you're not going to see me get smashed tonight, even though it is Saturday. But I just have no reason to suffer the consequences for the last 10 minutes of our chat here. So this is purely for flavor. I may feel like a tiny little hint of an onset of a buzz from this, but it will not be a woohoo situation. Somebody asked, where was that? What the spirits are. So this is a homemade spirit that my brother-in-law made. It's I think he started with some sort of like super high proof whiskey, like abnormally strong, and then he must have added some sugar. Yeah, gotta be some sugar or maybe just the fruit. A little bit went down the pipe. There we go. High proof indeed. But yeah, he infused it with black cherries and vanilla, I think. Like it basically tastes like a Manhattan cocktail. It's delicious. The cough was not because it was extraordinarily strong. It was because I accidentally aspirated a little bit of aerosolized whiskey, which is not a pleasant sensation. It's what I get for trying to talk while drinking. Well, thanks, Kit Kat. I've never been called a great YouTuber before. That's a fun thing to hear. It's sort of bittersweet because like I feel like I've sort of failed this channel. I was trying to figure out today like how to get back into it because since I got this job, it's just eaten up all of my leisure time. Any free time that I have, I'm using to work on my main projects like books and screenplays and stuff. And I'm thinking like, how can I get back into like making new videos? I almost did it this morning. I started thinking about like, I've got all this footage collected, tons of beautiful natural footage of the area, but I feel like nobody watches those videos. Like anytime I try to make a video that's not about like a really specific theme that's particularly relatable, it's just like dump it in the trash. Like it'll get a couple hundred views maybe. And the only ones that this channel that ever like get visible are when it's like really telling a story. So it's tough to find enough material to like tell stories on a regular basis because it's just like there's a limited amount of really interesting things to talk about. So every time I start to get tempted, like that clouds video, that was like a pure art video. It was just about like kind of me rambling in a creative way about the sky and how I like to think about, what the clouds are and kind of like they're living creatures, and just kind of had this little whimsical jolly trip through Skyland, and it was like my least viewed video ever. So like every time I do that, it just kind of feels like a waste of my time. So I have to find, like people keep saying with YouTube, like it's not about how good the quality of the videos, you just have to have them be about something that people care about. So that's the tough part. That's where I keep hitting a roadblock with making new videos for this. I'm just like, what do people care about? I don't really know what to make videos about anymore. Because I feel like I've kind of said all I have to say about, this living here. I've already covered pretty much every aspect of this experience. And it just sort of like, I don't know. I don't really know where to go with it. So I don't know. Anyone ever has any suggestions, things that you're curious about that I should explore in a video? I'm always open to input. I do, yeah, I mean, Kai Hai, I do enjoy just sharing my life. That was kind of like the original point of this whole channel, was just to have it be like kind of like a journal, you know, like talk about things that are interesting to me about living out here. But I don't know. It's I guess I just get so sidetracked with all the other writing work that I'm doing now. I feel like I've kind of lost the path, and I have to find it again in order to figure out how to keep making stuff. The only thing I have on the docket right now, next video, is just like, you know what? I feel like I want to just do one about just unabashed, like, just how pretty it is. Just take like all my footage of the most beautiful views out here, the sunrises, the time lapses of clouds, just like all the amazing stuff, which is like, as a video, it'll completely fail because it doesn't have a hook. Nobody cares. You know, there's infinite supply of beautiful nature footage that's way better than mine. But it's just like, I don't know, this is all I've got. I just have to like show people the life out here. So I don't know, maybe there's a way to find a story within that, but I have to spend some time on it. I actually did, Claudia, I started to do a video about that question, is being a hermit what I thought it would be? Because I had kind of a crisis of confidence about this whole endeavor right before Christmas. I was starting to feel like, I don't know if I can handle this. I'm going crazy. I'm starting to get lonely. Finally, it's finally happening. And I'm just like bored and restless. And I was very frustrated with my whole lifestyle. And I was starting to think like, maybe I got to find some other place, like some kind of, you know, compromise, get another home somewhere in a more populated area and use this as just my escape cabin, or like all these different ideas that crossed my mind of like, what could I do? What could I work toward? And because I was just like, I don't know if I can handle this being it. And I started writing a video about that, because it's like there's some disappointing things about living out here that I haven't really talked about, like some things that I thought were going to go a certain way, and then after a few years I discover like it's not really going to work out like that. Like socially, you know, the towns here, small towns aren't as friendly as they're cracked up to be, you know? Like everyone thinks that they're all super welcoming and hospitality and everything, but my experience has been like, yeah, they're friendly, but they're closed, you know? Like people don't go out and mingle in the streets in small country towns. They drive to the grocery store, they drive home, and they hang out with their family. There's no third place. There's no like town square where everyone's waving to each other. It's just like home and business, and like there's no mixing pot. So realizing that, it's like, wow, it's going to be really unlikely for me to like find a community out here under these conditions, because like people don't do that. Like the nearest town here, Brewster, closed their last bar. There's literally no bar in that whole town. They have a McDonald's, they have a Chevron gas station, they have 2 Ace Hardware stores, not a single bar. They had one coffee shop that used to have tables where you could sit down, but then they converted it to drive-through only. So it's like the last vestiges of like communal hangout culture gone. So yeah, that town is basically dead to me at this point, because I'm like, I wanted to make that my town. Technically, it's my town. Brewster is where my address is, but I'm like, I can't. There's literally nothing there. It's just like a big street of nothing. It's like, well, I guess I'll go to Pateros then, because it's, you know, the next town over. They have Codys Saloon, and they are at least making some efforts. They have a nice park. They have like a little bit of a push in the direction of community. So I'm like, okay, maybe there's hope there. So start going to Codys every weekend and see what happens. But yeah, it's a slow process. It is not, especially when you walk into it like without having any invitation. Like if you had even just one friend who was local, you'd probably be off to a much faster start. But when you show up in a small town and just like, here I am, it's very much like kind of that classic, Western scenario where you walk into the saloon and everyone just turns around and like, how can I make that gesture? You walk into the saloon and they're like, no, wait, you need to look. I'd have to be behind, but look over your shoulder mistrustfully. You know the scene. Every Western where the stranger rolls into town and the people are all like, you ain't from around here. It's real. Hold up. I think what's going on in the chat here? Griff's talking about poems. People are telling me I missed something important. What did I miss? Claudia? You said I missed a lot. Oh, some ideas. Okay. Geology of my area. Short stories. I mean, you mean like performing them? I don't think so. I did that for my Patreon for a while. That's I think too far removed from what this channel is about. I don't think most YouTubers have the patience YouTube audiences have the patience to sit and listen to a whole short story. That's more in the realm of like art content, which probably belongs on Vimeo. Which I have a Vimeo, by the way. I haven't added anything to it in years, but there's a bunch of my like early kind of artsy stuff on there. What I was trying to say with the whole thing about like me doubting my situation out here is that I started to make a video about that, and I wrote half of a script for it, and then I kind of had this big epiphany, and I basically turned my worldview around. I was like, actually, this is awesome. And there are things about it that aren't as awesome, but I'm still totally on board. I'm still going to build the house out here. I'm going to double down. So I scrapped that whole idea. I would like to make a video at some point about just, some of those harsh realities of it, maybe, even though the net result is like, it's still worth it. I'm still doing this. There's some things that, it'd be interesting to talk about because like, especially in kind of the back to the land off-grid space, people tend to be a bit romantical about it and like to say everything is awesome and it's all you're the ones that are wrong for not doing this. And there's a little bit of that in my head, but there's also a lot of things like, yeah, I understand why you want to live in a city and not in a plot of empty land. Well, thanks, Colin. Colin likes the overshirt. I'm a big fan of this. I feel like this is kind of like a new fabric that's come out recently. This like really thick weave flannel stuff. It's like, look how thick this is. Big ass threads. Feels really nice. Very textural. I feel like I'm missing some more topics in here. Wait, I missed Cat Respector? I saw them saying goodbye, but I was in the middle of a topic and I didn't want to get derailed. But did they actually start to... Hold on, I'm going to scroll back. Did they actually start to tell the story? Where did it go? Did their chats disappear? There we go. I see a salute. And then Song Yoon, cultural officer. Okay, there's some data. I'm going to look that up. Really interesting. Oh, that was it. That's all we got. Must go to Shaohongshu now. We have a little bit of biographical data, something to build a picture off of. That's so interesting. I'm honored to be on their route. I'm gonna look that up. Oh, that's Red Note. Okay. Yeah, I thought it was a town too. Yeah, so funny what's going on with Red Note right now. I wonder if that wave actually stuck at all because TikTok was down for like 4 hours. Um, and then everyone was like, well, fine, we're going to the even more Chinese app. But then TikTok is back now, so I wonder what happened with that. Yeah, Griff, probably what I need to do to make this channel work is to just like abandon the idea of artistry, I guess. The idea of like crafting something that is coherent and well presented and just kind of like put stuff out there. Because I just don't think I'm going to have the energy of the time to like make really cinematic stuff. The live videos are where I just sort of talk unscripted are easier to make in the moment, but they are more difficult to make substantial because it's like I just don't know what I'm going to say, and sometimes nothing really interesting comes out. I love writing the scripts for these videos. I love actually using my writing abilities to make videos as opposed to just me getting on here and yapping. But the downside of it is then I have to really like come up with something. So maybe it's better if I just sort of spit raw content onto here and see how people like it. I do want to keep going with it. This is really like the only platform left. It's like this and Instagram. That's it. Because I pretty much dropped Twitch now too. So it's like really the only place for me to live stream. It's the only place where I can like talk and connect with you guys in that way. And so for a while, this has been the only thing that my video is live stream. My channel is just these live streams, but I enjoy doing them. It's I guess it's like it's worth keeping it alive just for that, but I still feel like I'd also like to make some art, not just ramble. So hopefully there will be time and energy to find a way to deliver that kind of substance without getting too lost in it. Luke Master. Great name. My nephew's name is Luke. He's getting really ambitious with his music right now. He's 19 years old, and he's been like making new songs nonstop, and I've become kind of like his unofficial producer to comment on his mixes and what he's doing with the songs, and it's really fun to watch like a young, restless mind just like push at his limits constantly. I remember the feeling, and I still feel the feeling, but I remember when it was new to me, that feeling of like, I want to make the best fucking art I can. I want to like elevate things, and I want to keep pushing boundaries and hone the craft and try new and exciting things, and like really go for it. And it's inspiring to see, to be kind of on the inside track of what of that process, watching him go from like, a kid just experimenting in his basement to like putting out some real music, and then you know starting to take it even more seriously and like push the boundaries of it into new territory. It's like, wow, I feel like I'm watching, the birth of an era here, like maybe discovering new sounds and just like taking music in a new direction that is, the domain of youthful energy and young plastic brains and all of that amazing stuff that comes from like being on the front lines of culture. It's wonderful to see. And, I'm not done either, despite being far from youthful. I still feel that crackle. I still feel like I have a lot to offer, a lot more to do with my talents. I have not, settled into my stride by a long shot yet. And that's kind of the other big question of all this stuff is like, there's so much I want to do, and there's just time is so limited. It's just insanely limited. Like when you work 40 hours a week, it's I kind of want to do the math and figure out like say I get 2 hours every morning, and then maybe 8 hours of productive time on Saturday and Sunday. How much time is that after say like 80 years of life? I wonder what it amounts to, because that's like your actual life, you know. And I guess the evenings too. But as far as like making art, I can't do anything productive at night after I finish my job. My brain is absolute jelly, and I can't write. I can't do anything because I spend all day writing and talking to people at work. And so evenings are my leisure time. It's really the only leisure I allow myself. But what is going on in the chat right now? I'm gonna do that one myself since Future's gone. Oh, it's just the one message. Okay. Somebody's harassing me. Time out for 24 hours. Goodbye. Ha 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 ha. Oh, the power. That's intoxicating. One click, obliterated. Hey, don't worry about it, Natasha. It was unclear what exactly they were saying. Just a bunch of L's. First I thought they were just like tripped on the keyboard or something. Yes. I'll let this power will go to my head, and I will start banning everybody. Anyone who speaks ill of me goes to political prison. Also, by the way, look, check out Mr. Loafman is still just loafed up. Bobo. Sometimes I can't resist just like jiggling him, because he's so jiggly, you know? He doesn't seem to mind. He's just like a big Jello mold. All right. Well, on that note, when the live stream has devolved to fascist power banning and cat jiggling, it's probably time to call it a night. So appreciate you guys hanging out with me for this long. I I really appreciate the encouragement too. Like, you just people saying that they like my channel. It really compliments like that go a long way for me these days, because I'm like, I don't know what to think of the online stuff that I do anymore, because so much of it feels like it's just sort of determined by the numbers, and I make stuff, and if it doesn't do well on the platform, it's like, well, it must suck, and it's not something anybody wants. So even just like hearing a couple people go out of their way to say that they like what I do here, it actually it feels significant to me. So I really appreciate it. Hope you all have a good night, and I will see you next Saturday at 3 p.m. Pacific. I'm gonna do my best to make this a actual schedule thing that I plan my weekend around. So if anybody, I got a couple of requests to schedule it, to have it on the same time, and so it's best for everybody. So hopefully I will see you again next weekend. Good night. Good night from Jigglypuff. One meow for us, buddy? No, he's too sleepy. Okay. Bye.